the valley low. Gotta organize, yeah. From the mountain high to the valley low. Gotta organize. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain. Gotta let our people know. One more time. From the mountain high to the valley low. Gotta organize, yeah. From the mountain high to the valley low. Gotta organize, yeah. From the mountain high to the valley low. Gotta organize, yeah. From the mountain high to the valley low. Gotta organize. Just go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain. Gotta let our people know. Gotta let our people know. Gotta let our people know.
Hello, my siblings in the struggle, and welcome to the Freedom Church of the Poor service, where we are celebrating the advent of a revolution, the birth of a movement, and also the winter offensive of the National Union of the Homeless. We are very, very grateful to have you all here with us tonight as we are deep into both seasons. We just went through our very powerful memorial for those that die on the streets from poverty, the fourth leading cause of death in our country. We had a memorial lifting up those that have died, as well as posthumously minister commissioned Ron Casanova, longtime leader in the movement of creativity and art and spirituality, as well as in the National Union of the Homeless. Great honor to be able to do that recently with the Freedom Church of the Poor and the Kairos Center. Deep honor to us in the Homeless Union. And tonight we continue the celebration of the struggle, of the fight, of the fighting back against an empire, a state apparatus that puts us in opposition. And we say, no, we will not be put in opposition. We will organize, as that beautiful song just said, organize, to fight back for our rights as human beings, our rights as children of a divine universe, our rights of Christ, to have a home, to have food, to have warmth, community, love, and spiritual gatherings like these. And we'll fight together for that unity, for that love, and for that community through the winter offensive starting in Thanksgiving, partnership between the National Union of the Homeless and the Kairos Center and the Freedom Church of the Poor, through Martin Luther King Day, where we raise up the revolutionary work, the spiritual, sacred revolutionary work of organizing from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the North to the South, and across globally on this very, very hard, sad day in our movement globally, where we know that our siblings in Venezuela are being attacked, also across the world in other places, in the name of upholding global capital. We feel this is sinful. We feel this must end, and that's why we organize. And my name is Kristin Colangelo, she, her pronouns. I'm out of New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia, and I'm a leader, an organizer, and I co-coordinate the Membership Development Committee, the Political Education and Leadership Development of the National Union of the Homeless, and a proud member of the Kairos Center and the Freedom Church. We always start these sacred gatherings with our mission statements. So if we want to put those up on the screen, we will read them and just sit in reflection. If you want to close your eyes and just breathe in the spirit of these mission statements as we ground ourselves in another amazing service together. The Freedom Church of the Poor is a spiritual and political home for movement leaders. We believe in the fundamental dignity and value of all life, and in a world of abundance where we all can thrive, not just survive, we all can thrive. We gather as a community of faith to support and care for each other. We commit to realizing the abundant world God promises by identifying developing and uniting leaders who will build a movement to end poverty led by the poor. In this community and through our commitment to this struggle, we also seek to rediscover and share a vision and practice of religion that is rooted in truth, justice, and love. In honor of the National Union of the Homeless and the partnership, this beautiful spiritual partnership between the Freedom Church of the Poor and the National Union of the Homeless in this time, in this season, and in this winter offensive, we hold up our mission statement. The heart and soul of the National Union of the Homeless is to commit our lives to ending, not managing, not making it look prettier, not helping some and not others, ending homelessness and poverty, and to work tirelessly for the human right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, for social and economic justice for all. We dedicate ourselves to raising up the awareness of our sisters and brothers, to planning a sustained struggle, and to building an organization that can obtain freedom through revolutionary perseverance. We pledge to deepen our personal commitment to end all forms of exploitation, racism, sexism, and abuse. True solidarity demands that we create not just a new society, but also a new human being. And with that, we will go back to song, and we will hear one of our movement songs.
We're actually going to share the Birth of a Movement season statement. And I also see here that Paul included RAP's mission statement, which I'll also read. Welcome, everyone, again. So the season statement for Birth of a Movement with Freedom Church of the Poor. There are moments in every movement that mark the start of a new creation, a new process, a new organization, the birth of a movement. In this season, we celebrate those moments in our collective histories when we see clearly a rebirth toward liberation taking shape. In these times, we retell again and again of freedom stories and the emergence of a moral movement that unites people across difference from the history of the Israelite people and in the Jesus movement. This season continues parallel with the winter offensive organizing drive of the National Union of the Homeless. And tonight we'll also be hearing from leader Paul Boden of Western Regional Advocacy Project, RAP, which exists to expose and eliminate the root causes of civil and human rights abuses of people experiencing poverty and homelessness in our communities. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Sierra. Really appreciate you.
Children, we have heard your cries, cries for justice burning bright. Neighbors lift their voices high, joining hands to stand and fight. Unity now gathers we are free. We still all are truly free. We stand in solidarity and build a just community. Join the movement, you will see glory for humanity. Come and fight for liberty. Every life has dignity. God bring peace, bring hope, bring justice. For all your people, God bring peace, bring hope, bring justice. For all your people.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So powerful. These revolutionary carols that have come out of our culture and art community. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over now to Adam for our scripture reading.
Thank you, Kristin. So the scripture tonight is from Luke and also from a psalm, and we are continuing to read this story of Advent and into what the Christian church calls Epiphany. Just a reminder of the power of this story as we understand it at Freedom Church. And the whole Christmas story is kind of a overture, a preview of the gospel itself, and the introduction into the world of a new way of being that isn't empire, that isn't violent domination, but a way of justice and truth and love. And that way leads to confrontation with the state. And so as we continue here in this season, we also are aware that we're getting close to the season of Lent, which dramatizes that confrontation, of course, which ends in the state execution of Jesus. But just a little context there before we start reading our scripture tonight, which again is from Luke. So when the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about." So they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby who was lying in the manger. And when they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told about them, about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things that they had heard and seen, which were just as they had been told. And on the 8th day, when it was time to circumcise the child, he was named Jesus, the name the angel had given him before he was conceived.
Thank you so much, Adam.
And then, we're going to do a short psalm, Psalm 8. O Lord, our sovereign, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory above the heavens. Out of the mouths of babes and infants, you have founded a bulwark because of your foes, to silence the enemy and the avenger. When I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you have established, what are humans that you are mindful of them, mortals that you care for them? Yet you have made them a little lower than God and crowned them with glory. And you have given them dominion over the works of your hands. You have put all things under their feet, all sheep and oxen, and also the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, whatever passes along the paths of the sea. O Lord, our sovereign, how majestic is your name in all of the earth.
Thank you. Beautiful, both of those pieces. And we turn it over for reflection first to dear friend and longtime organizer, revolutionary, and author, Cedar Monroe.
Hello, everyone, and good evening, at least from, I guess for the East Coast, and certainly for me in Ireland, where it's going on midnight. It's really, really great to be here, and it's really great to see people that I haven't seen in a long time. And thanks so much for the invitation. I thought I would just bring a couple of thoughts about this season in this coming year. And I really love the tradition of setting revolutionary resolutions that the National Union of the Homeless does. And so I'll give a few of mine as well. So over the past few years for me, the winter solstice has kind of been a time for me to set intentions for the year to come. So it really dovetails really quite nicely with this idea of setting resolutions, revolutionary resolutions. I'm currently living in Ireland. I'm studying for a PhD, but it's quite interesting. So Ireland has a bunch of Neolithic sites that date back thousands of years. But what's really interesting is there's a lot of these sites, these stone kind of monuments that align with either the rising or the setting of the sun during the solstice. And so it makes sense that the winter solstice was especially important because Ireland's quite far north, and the days in the winter are very, very, very short. And the solstice marks that time, right, where the very longest night of the year ends when the sun rises on the solstice. And then from that time forward, for the next 6 months, the days grow steadily longer and the light increases. So we don't know exactly why people in Ireland thousands of years ago, what they did at these sites. We know that they were burial places to honor the dead. We know that this rising sun after the longest night was somehow important to them. But in modern times, the Irish newscast broadcasts every year on the winter solstice from Newgrange, or an Irish Brú na Bóinne, which is one of these monuments. And I love watching the program. You can go in person now that I'm in Ireland, but I haven't done that. But I love watching it on the solstice because Ireland's quite cloudy. And the game basically is to see if the clouds clear on the morning of the solstice, to see if the sun comes through the portal and hits the back of the burial chamber where there's all of these symbols, Neolithic symbols. It is the only time of the year the sun hits that spot. This year, the sun didn't show up because there were too many clouds, but that's relatively typical. But there's this kind of sense of ritual every year as people in Ireland watch this. And I've been using that time to remember that even in this time of shadows, and as the summary earlier about this season says, this time of shadows and monsters, right, that we live in today, that the sun still rises like it has for millions of years on Earth. Light comes and the days grow longer every year. It reminds me that the systems we live with today are not eternal, that when those ancestors who were watching the sun rise a few thousand years ago, here in Ireland, things were very different, right? They lived in a world where there wasn't private property, there wasn't homelessness. And according to what little we know through medieval texts, there were laws that protected the common good, and even trees had legal rights, strangely enough. And it wasn't a perfect system. It was messed up because humans are, but it also wasn't the empire we live with today. Right? It reminds me that capitalism is only 500 years old. It reminds me that these systems are not eternal, that humans have done better in the past, and we can do better in the future, and we can change the world that we live in today. I also tend to use this time to set my intentions for the coming year. And so I've been thinking about what my revolutionary resolutions are for this year. Because it's been a hard year. I mean, for me, it's a hard year and a long line of hard years. I worked with chaplains on the harbor for over 10 years in Grace Harbor County, and poverty and homelessness have been rising there for a very long time. And so I think back home to all of the people I still know who are struggling with poverty and homelessness and increasing lack of everything that they need. And I think of my mother, who died less than 2 years ago. She died at 65, partly because of lack of access to healthcare, partly because of the very many years she lived without health insurance or access to doctors. And also here in Ireland, where I live today, Ireland's following that same path of austerity as a tax haven for US corporations. While people here can still get welfare, and I was very shocked to find out that there weren't any water bills, that water is free. Things are still getting worse in a lot of ways. Homelessness is rapidly increasing, particularly in the cities where I live. So 16,000 people were counted as homeless this year in Ireland, which is a lot of people in a country of only 6 million. I mean, you can see it on the streets and communities as more and more people are living in the cold. And more refugees are ending up on the street as the refugee program in Ireland has started handing out tents to people who come as refugees from Palestine and Nigeria and Ukraine because there isn't housing. And the housing crisis here is quite severe. Rents are the highest in Europe. Housing quality is terrible. And in my neighborhood right now, as it's dropping below zero and starting to snow, most people in this neighborhood can't afford heating systems and are either using or either have very little access to heat for their homes. And so, like, thinking about all of this, these are the resolutions that I have set for myself for this year. First, I've committed myself to study. And I'm doing a PhD and all of that, but I don't really mean that. I don't mean that kind of study. I mean, I want to commit myself to studying, to revolutionary study, right, based on our own lived experiences. I was reading a speech by Fidel Castro 30 years ago, and he said that we live in complex times that require building more awareness and merging the best ethical and humane ideas from religion and from history towards revolution. And so this idea of understanding history and understanding the role that religion might play in revolution is something I want to dedicate myself to this year. And then the second thing is, as I've been living here in Ireland for a year and a half, and I've committed myself to engaging in the struggle on the ground here while I'm here. There's been a groundswell of organizing towards mass movement to end poverty, to end capitalism in Ireland, to address environmental disaster. And so I'll be working with ecologists and organizers and lawyers this year who are addressing the absolutely incredible amount of environmental devastation here. And I'll also be working with people who are organizing on the ground to get better healthcare and addressing a lot of the failures of the Irish healthcare system, which is steadily getting worse with austerity. And I think and as part of that, right, I want to find ways to connect our struggles internationally across the working class, right? We are all, the working class across the world is struggling for the same things, struggling for their needs being met, struggling for life, from Ireland to the United States, from Venezuela to Palestine. And our struggles are all connected. And I think increasingly our organizing will be too. And so as I think about this year, I think the ruling class does seem incredibly powerful right now. They've funded a genocide in Gaza. They just kidnapped the Venezuelan president in a bid for oil. They've robbed people of health care, of homes, food stamps, education, hope for their future. But in the end, when I watch the sunrise on winter solstice, I think about how we are more powerful, right? The sun has risen for thousands of years on humans before empires suppressed us. And as empires have grown and as capitalism has developed, we have always resisted. And so this is why this time of Christmas, this reading the story that we read of Jesus born homeless in a stable is so important, right? Because Jesus was born in this time where the ruling class of his time was also incredibly powerful. And he built this mass movement of resistance to cast down the mighty from their throne and lift up the poor. And that's why I feel incredibly honored to be a small part of this movement and to be here with you all today.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's so awesome to have you here. It's my honor to turn it over now to another strong sibling, longtime friend and organizer, Paul Boden, currently the organizing director of RAP, Western Region Advocacy Project, but also a decade-long organizer and a longtime friend and supporter and member of the National Union of the Homeless. RAP and NUH are best friends. So glad to have you here, Paul. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Since the 80s, we've been like that. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting us to be a part of this. And Maddie, I'll say hello to you. Our friend Maddie, co-worker and friend of mine, is also here. So RAP was created about 20 years ago, but I've been doing this shit since 83 when the shelter system first started. And I think it's important that we remember this was created by man. This was created by a systemic wiping out of affordable housing funding during the Reagan Revolution, as the neocons and neoliberals called it. And then in the 90s, we saw welfare reform, and then we saw Hope 6, and now we're seeing the big fascist bill. So there's a very easy trajectory to look at where did it come from that so many different types of people, so many different community members ended up living out in our streets. It was very much created by federal policy decisions and then local and state reactions to those policy decisions. And the fact that they've been successfully able to point at fingers at us, those of us that come up from the streets and say, you're the reason that there's homelessness in America, has allowed the militarized response to homelessness, which is now also a militarized response, not now also, has been for a while, to trans rights, to people of color, to poor people, to immigrant community members. This country has a long history of otherizing people and then attacking them and using loitering laws and sitting on the sidewalk and blocking the side. Being in public space is a crime being committed by people that local governments and state governments don't want to see in their communities, as if they own that community. And as we've seen the advent of business improvement districts and private security operation systems, that oppression has just gotten stronger. And we need to be really grounded in the belief that our resilience is our strength and our love for each other is our power. That's where we have power, is our love and our connection to each other. And so RAP was created by these local organizations in Skid Row and up in Portland, and we're in 11 different communities now that felt like we weren't seeing and hearing our priorities at the national level, and we needed to create our own voice. So we use artwork, we use research, we use books, we use our beauty and our strength. Our demonstrations are street theater. They're not just, oh, let's come together and complain about what's being done to us. Let's come together and show our beauty, show our strength, show our power, which comes from love. And that's where, the Freedom Church of the Poor, the freaking National Homeless Union, like, it's all grounded in this belief system that our resilience is our power. We will not disappear and cease to exist. We will fight the fuck back with every breath we have, with every piece of strength we can muster, because all we got is each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. And they can come after us, they can attack us, they can beat us up, and we will get up again the next day and we will fight twice as hard. And it's not about winning at this point, it's about building. And it's about building the strength. We're up against multi-generation oppression. Chevron built that takeover in Venezuela. That was planned in advance and masterminded over generations. And we have to understand that our struggle isn't, all right, let's have a demo and we're going to win tomorrow. No, our actions are to build power and to build strength. And the best place to do that is from the heart. And for some, it's music. For some, it's artwork. For some, it's legal strategies. For some, it's research. But that makes us stronger. The more skill sets we have, the more different talents we have, the more we're able to bring to the table as a collective community, the more power we can build for each other. There is no separation between mutual aid and organizing. It's all about building community. And the more we can believe in that, and the more we can have systems that we use, we're not saying this is the only system, but RAP members have identified street outreach in our communities, where we literally go out and talk to people and say, what should the priorities be right now? What's happening in your lives? I know you don't come to our meetings. So what? We still want to reflect what it is that you're saying. We find those common threads in what people are telling us is happening in the community. Just because I've been homeless don't mean I can rep shit. I have my experience. I am not the homeless. There is no such thing as the homeless. There's human beings, some of whom are housed, some of whom are unhoused. But the beauty of it is we're all just freaking human beings. And the more we disassociate any differences we have and build power over the common threads we identify with each other, the stronger we're going to be. And I don't care like what shirt, my shirt is a RAP shirt. You know, Kristin's hat is a union hat. They're the same thing. They are from the same community. They reflect the same belief systems. The Cairo Center does their things very differently than RAP does our shit. As you can see, we love our artwork and shit. We couldn't sing to save our lives, but we have beauty in what we do. And we have pride in what we do. And we have pride in what our friends and allies do in other corners of the world. Because if we're going to survive the neoliberal fascist takeover that we're experiencing it right now, we have to disassociate any prejudices that have been imposed on us as we've grown up through the neocon American education system, where it's them as opposed to us. We have to wipe that out and get rid of it. It's us as community. And we find our common threads, we embrace those common threads, and we build together off of those common threads. And we can actually start to support each other to survive the vicious takeover that we're seeing right now. You know, just like we saw with Hope 6, when all of a sudden your criminal history, your documentation status started dictating whether you can have a roof over your head. We're seeing that now into our shelter system. My God, a freaking emergency shelter bed is being dictated by who you are and whether we think you're worthy of a fucking shelter bed. Give me a break. We didn't even used to do intakes to get a shelter bed. If we had a space, you had a space. That's how the system ran. And we were all from the streets running the shit. And it actually was a lot more humane then than it is now, because now it's got all of these priorities of who gets it and intakes and are you doing life skills training? That shit all came in the 90s with welfare reform under Clinton. So we have to understand whether they're Democrat, Republican, whether it's the legal system, whether it's some white ass judge sitting up there passing edicts about us, that's not what's going to save us. What's going to save us is each other. What's going to save us is celebrating our spirituality and our love and our belief for each other and our support for each other. And our strength is in our resilience. It's not about winning. It's about building so that at some point, after 40 years, I can say, I may not be here when homelessness ends, but God damn it, nobody's going to repeat the mistakes I made or that we made as we were building, because the next generation is going to be able to learn from our mistakes so they can continue to build and not start all over again like we did in the early 80s when we were starting a homeless coalition in San Francisco. It was like, well, where did all the hippies go and shit? You know, like that stuff was gone. We had to make mistakes we knew other people made before us. And that's what I mean by our resilience is our strength. We make our mistakes, we learn from it, we build, and then we pass it on to the next generation so they're not repeating our mistakes. They're making new mistakes that they can learn from and pass on. And then we build power to the point where nobody, no matter where they were born, no matter how they identify, nobody deserves to be sleeping out in the goddamn street for any reason whatsoever. And that's what we're building towards. It's not just about, oh, end homelessness in San Francisco. That ain't gonna happen. We have to end a neoliberal system of governance that creates homelessness. And we do that through our love of each other, through our support of each other, through our research, and through our fearlessness to be out in the streets. Whether you're going to kick my ass or not, you're going to know you were in a fight because you're hurting people I love and care about. And thank you for a couple of minutes to say our shit.
Wow, Paul, thank you. Thank you for your tireless revolutionary perseverance in this movement. I love you. You brought the spirit with you. Thank you so, so much. I'm turning it over now to a very dear friend and revolutionary and organizer I've worked with for a number of years, Minister Tammy Rosing out of Lancaster National Union of the Homeless.
Yes, thank you, Kristin. Woo! I don't know, Paul. That's going to be kind of hard to top that. I tend to get fiery like that too, and I also want to appreciate what Cedar shared. And I'm thinking back to the scripture also, and you know, hearing them spreading the word, right? Of, oh, this is glorious. Jesus was born. It's like the start of the spreading of this good word, right? The start of this movement exists. And hearing that and hearing Cedar's reflection and hearing Paul, you know what kind of came to my mind? What my life was like. And then also the moment. What was my life was like up until, but also the moment when I connected with people connected to this movement that was already building, right, before I came involved. And I'll never forget the pivotal moment for me when I truly was like, this is it. I went to different gatherings of different organizations, trying to understand. I had this political awakening, so to speak, and in end of 2016, 2017, going into that. And I just knew something wasn't right, but nobody was giving me the clear answers. It was a very limited viewpoint or understanding. And I'm just like, this just doesn't fit. Like this whole left wing versus right wing or the political parties or the whatever. I heard a lot of that. It just something didn't feel right. And then I connect with organizations like Put People First PA, through that, the Homeless Union, through that, the folks here at Kairos Center, and watching this video clip of Martin Luther King Jr. and hearing his fight for human rights and the organizing of poor people across lines of division, and why a poor people's campaign was important, and who held the power. Us poor folk. I grew up believing I had no power. right? And so for me, like what I'm taking away is we've got to spread the word. I mean, think about it. I'm like, what, 48 now? I only just found out about y'all in 2017. That was only about 8 years ago. Wish I would have known about y'all even before that. So there's a lot more me's out there that haven't heard about us yet, that we need to bring them in, because this will mean just as much to them as it does to each one of us. And so we've got to spread the word about this movement, that this movement is building. This movement has been birthed, and now it is growing. We are building a movement to abolish poverty, to abolish the system, to take down the empire that is oppressing us both here and abroad. When I woke up the other day, early morning, to get ready for work, and I always get on my phone as I'm drinking my coffee, trying to wake up, and I see the news of what our empire did in regards to Venezuela, and that like instantaneously broke my heart. I'm just like, not again. You know, this isn't something new. It's not like it's just a Trump thing, you know, much like how you heard Paul like share, right? Like this ever growing attacks on the poor is one administration after another. They just piggyback after another because it's the system. And so this is just them, the United States empire, taking the next step further, you know? And just thinking about whenever I've connected with folks that are organizing in their nations, right? We just heard Cedar talk about Ireland. A lot of what I've heard them share and say to me personally, like one-on-one and communications, and if I'm not mistaken, I've heard other revolutionaries here share that one of the best things we could do for our international working class brothers and sisters is to organize a revolution here. This empire is just, it has too much control and power, and it has to be taken down and put in the hands of the working class for us all across the globe to have freedom and liberation. And we got to not be afraid. We've got to like share the truth. There are so many out there. I can see it. I can feel it. Just, you know, active on social media, active talking in my community every day. There are so many out there that would come on board if they knew the truth, if we connected with them. We should be hungry out there every day talking to our community members. I can't help myself but spread the good word. That's why I love that one of the songs that we played at the beginning where it's like, go tell it on the mountain. We got to organize, I love that song. I was there the day that was performed. I love that. That touched me. I listen to that song all the time to process and reflect my conversations with my community members, because so many of them are waiting for us. We are the ones that are going to save us. Ain't no politician, ain't none of them going to come and save us. They're going to try to fight back, and we've got to be organized. And as Paul said, we got to keep rising up. They knock us down, get back up. They knock us down, get back up. And that's what we got to do. And we got to keep moving forward, and we got to identify other leaders, and we got to make sure that we incorporate leadership development, and we're coming together across lines of division, and we got to be patient, and we got to like share love with one another, and we got to like build projects of survival so that we can help each other survive in these harsh times while simultaneously organizing to take this empire down. That's what we need to do.
Wow. Thank you to Minister Tammy. Thank you for your leadership. And thank all three of you, Cedar, Paul, and Tammy, for your words tonight to ground us in the spirit of Advent and Revolution. I turn it back over now to Adam.
Oh my gosh, that was so powerful, y'all. But I think it's time for prayers. So actually, we're going to pass it over to Minister Letiah, who's going to lead us tonight in the prayers of the people. So thank you.
Hey y'all, if you can just take a moment if you haven't, put your prayer requests in the chat, knowing that we will offer them in this space now and also throughout the week. So if you do that. One of the things, while people are putting their requests in the chat, one of the things that helps me is breath prayers to survive when we hear another crazy thing that's happening in our world. And so I'm going to invite us into a breath prayer while folks are putting their stuff in the chat. And it's simply this, that we would inhale trouble. And as you're inhaling the trouble, there's lots of trouble that we are holding for our country, for around the world, for ourselves, but then we will exhale, won't last always, right? This is something that people have said and believed, who've organized over the generations. So again, we're going to inhale trouble, thinking about whatever that is for us and around the world, and then we're going to exhale, won't last always. So let us begin. Again, we're going to inhale trouble. Exhale, won't last always. Inhale trouble. Exhale, won't last always. One more time. Inhale trouble. Exhale, won't last always. All right, and then I will look at what we have here to offer in community prayer. So we pray in the many names of God, in love and in solidarity, that there is a takedown of the U.S. empire and all oppressive empires around the world. For those people in Venezuela, for safety and endurance, for those in other countries and in the U.S. experiencing oppression. We want to express thanks for this community, for the Freedom Church of the Poor that sustains us in times like this, for also Gaza and Palestine and Ukraine and Greenland and Sudan, so many. We hold them. Prayers for the families of the beloved comrades, Rachel and Anika, who recently lost their parents. Praying for all the children whose parents are no longer with us. Thankful for, this is what Sierra says, thankful for my grandmother, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday. And for the health of my grandmother, Eva, and family. So, let's see, for Minister Becker, please express how grateful I am that my friends John and Tammy have entered, John Ferris have entered into the arms of the ancestors. And prayers for Gaza again. For survival and determination. For those of us in the struggle, for those of us who don't yet know we're in the struggle, again, expressing gratitude. We lift up the prayers that are continuing to come in, those that are being mentioned now, and those we hold in our hearts because we don't have even the words yet to express them. We commit them into the trust and care of God, into the trust and care of the community around us, believing again that trouble won't last always. Amen.
Amen. Oh man, thank you for holding us in prayer, Minister Letiah. And thank you all for this powerful service. This has just been really really needed. What a way to start the year. So I loved what Paul said about how the work we do, it's not that this, one thing is going to fix everything. We're all doing a lot of stuff, but that's, I think, a good way to think about these calls to action. We have a lot of them, and not any one of them is going to kind of get us to the promised land, but I think they're all ways that we can get out there and show our love for each other and continue to build power and get organized. So yeah, it was a rough way to start the year, seeing the U.S. Conduct another regime change in Venezuela. And like Paul said, again, this is something that's been coming for a long time and orchestrated by powerful oil industry, and really threatened by the idea that people of Venezuela would want to own their resources collectively. So Cairo Center has signed on to, I know there's a lot of letters out there just to condemn this illegal occupation. We've signed on to a letter that was put out by Mayday Strong. So we're going to drop that in the chat. Folks want to add their name to that. Also, a really important letter came through today from the Apache Stronghold. As folks may know, they are longtime friends and allies and comrades in this struggle, and we've learned so much from them and their struggle to protect the sacred. So I'm just going to read a little bit from this letter from the founder of the Apache Stronghold, Winsler Nosey. He says, "For what I have witnessed, I now can say I see as my father and my grandfather and great-grandfather witnessed before me. Capitalism demands your loyalty to destroy every moral, ethic, spiritual belief, and God's way of life. I too know who cares and protects what God and Jesus had warned the world about. I will not be the one who is loyal to capitalism. You will not fool me. I will be departing from Oak Flat on Sunday, January 4th at 11 a.m. I will be walking and a little jogging to arrive at downtown Phoenix to attend the court hearings, which begin at 10 a.m. on January 7th. And for those who know me, Winsler, well, I had a spiritual encounter and must travel in a spiritual way. And I ask each of you, this is the call to action, if possible, to make ceremonial fire, light a candle, or be in prayer. The decision of the federal judge will weigh heavy on the future of water, environment, religion, and the ability to give federal exemptions to corporations without following legal policies. Usen, or Creator, hear my prayers as I make the journey to encounter many ugly obstacles, but also witness the beauty of all life. I will let no fear distract me, for all the beautiful spirits will be in all four directions." So yeah, please stand together, be together with the Apache Stronghold in prayer as they continue that fight, and I think continue to show us all what's at stake in this struggle for so long in this land that we all reside in today. Also coming up in January is the 10th anniversary of the Homeless Union, the relaunch of the Homeless Union. It's been around a while, as Paul indicated, since the 80s, but the 10 years anniversary will be a big celebration and gathering in Salinas. If you want more information on that, let us know. We'll get you the flyer. Again, a reminder of the Free Families campaign, national campaign that is inviting us to come together wherever we are to rise and build a community that can respond to the crises now and be prepared to protect each other everywhere. The way Free Families works is by connecting the acts that we all are doing to resist and care for each other. And it's just, the Free Families is a mechanism, a tool, a way, a campaign to amplify our actions and project our shared communities with greater power. So it's a powerful initiative that's underway through a lot of organizations and leaders that are connected to struggles around detention and immigration, but much more. So if you want to learn more about that, we'll drop the link, and they have an amazing toolkit that you can draw on, and we'll drop that as well. Another reminder about a fundraiser for a comrade, Luis Valderas, who was detained by ICE while traveling domestically. He's somebody that has been in this country their whole life. So we're asking for your support for Luis and for their family. If you're able to, we'll drop a link. You can learn more about that. Also keeping a close eye in our hearts on what's happening in the Twin Cities right now as they're terrorized by ICE agents. And because of this threat, many immigrant families are scared to leave their houses and their children to schools, which are, again, for many of us, starting up again this week. Many of them have lost income because it's not safe to go back to work. And especially, I think, for our Somali and Latina families, this is the case. And we are trying to raise money again to help with rent assistance and other needs for our brothers and sisters there. If you're so moved, please follow this link to learn how you can donate more. Finally, just a reminder: if you aren't signed up for the Freedom Church of the Poor newsletter, please do that and spread the word so we can stay in touch. Make sure you have all the information for our services each week and our Bible studies, which this week Bible study is going to be led by the organizing director at FOSNA, Friends of Sabile North America. So that's Wednesday, 6 p.m. And next week we will be in our second to last season service for this season. So it's been a good ride, and then and I'm sure there are many more calls to action. So if folks have them, please drop them in the chat. And I think that's a wrap for me. We're going to close with song, and then Kristin is going to take us out with a final word. So let me get the song queued up.
Joy to the world is our demand. The beauty of earth restored. Let each of us prepare our hearts to free our families now, to free our families now, to free our families now. Joy to the world, to peace will come. When we unite in mind, the poor and dispossessed, no one is needed there. For economy, no war economy, no war economy. We claim a world of unity. Let leaders hear our cry. Our cry for justice, liberation. Free our families now. Free our families now. We cry, free families now.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What a beautiful, powerful, impactful service. I end this night thinking about how we started. Adam read some scripture for us that grounded me in the story of the birth of Christ, a revolutionary who was born into homelessness, who was running, his family was running from empire, running from the ruling class, running from a king who took great murderous measure to stay in power out of just the mere threat that somebody was being born that could dethrone this king. And they were on the run from empire. And things come out of this like no more room at the inn. Minister Tammy rises this up all the time in the National Union of the Homeless, no room at the inn. And what does that mean? And I think to myself, if God of the Christian Bible, the God of any Bible that we're thinking about that's telling this story is all powerful, why have his son born into homelessness, y'all? Why in a stable? What statement was being made? Why not riches? Why not balloons and fanfare and, just the finest of all things that this Messiah, this, son of God being born into? Why running from empire? Why running from a state, a murderous state? Why turned away from the inn, and why born in the stable? That's a powerful message that is often just diminished. I hear This world, as long as it puts property above people, as long as people freeze on the streets with more empty houses for each person, being kicked out of hospitals, removing maternity wards from rural hospitals so that people have to drive so far, forced to give birth in the most unhealthy situations. In a world where we throw away more food, possibly eat. In a world where when we are hungry, they're cutting SNAP. Houseless, they're cutting all our subsidies and all of our things that keep a roof over our head. When we have to face our lives, whatever energies or Lord or God that you speak to in prayer, the question is, did you feed me or the least of us? I pray that at some point the answer is yes. At the end of this year, as we're coming to the end of this season, I think about the revolutionary resolution. And I also to study, my eyes closed from exhaustion, who we are up against today. Who is empire today? Who is the king today? Study where that enemy is, who that enemy is, and how to kick that ass. How do we win? We go up against. We continue to organize, and build power and build clarity and find, identify, train, develop, and unify leaders across this globe to come together to build our core, build our power, our political independence, to turn this society around so it reflects our interests. No one goes to bed cold. No one dies on the street. No one is turned away because their SNAP card no longer works and they didn't even know it. Or they go to the doctor with a sick child, a sick human being, and they don't know that they can't have care anymore because they missed a letter. Or they're kicked out. February is a month that for some reason for me, I don't know if it's from my history or when I was on the street, but every February, I return to just the bitter feeling of coldness across many parts of the world now and many parts of this country. People are going to freeze in the richest society we've ever seen. So I end tonight by saying, please, in prayer or publicly, we would love to have you publicly do it. But if that's not your thing, in prayer, talking to, whatever it is that, like I said, that you speak to when asking for power, that you think about what is your revolutionary resolution for 2026 in the face of war fought just to uphold capital, the guise of fighting for human rights and the betterment, which I don't believe. Betterment is what happens here. Building a new society is what happens here. When we hold up the many missions that were said tonight and throughout this season, pick a mission, pick a battle, pick an entry into this movement and join us. We need you, every one of you, to join hands and hearts and spirits with us to fight this empire that goes back to the birth of Jesus. Baby born in a stable who grew up to have a ministry of revolution, love. Paul Boden, you said it over and over. Of love and justice and to fight so that no one freezes, no one starves, and no one dies in the abundance of our time. So I leave you with that. Make your resolution with us to help us all fulfill our resolution in 2026 and all the years to follow. And thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for all the leaders that made this happen. Cedar, Paul, Tammy, thank you for your words. Thank you, Adam, for your leadership, and all the other leaders, Sierra, everyone that makes this happen every week. And 2026, y'all, is going to be powerful. Fire, as we say, fire.